And now, ladies and gentlemen, here she is, the Madonna of the Geritol set, Phyllis Diller!
It's shocking, isn't it? Now, don't let the word Madonna bother you. The day I grab my crotch, it'll mean it's falling off. Of course, at my age, it might. I wouldn't miss it. You know you're old when your walker has an airbag. And your sexual fantasies involve Jesse Helms. And your grandchildren connect your liver spots. Oh, God. And your favorite drink is Metamucil. And they've discontinued your blood type. And you belong to the Bartles and James wife-swapping club. That's old. But really old, the thing that bothers me is the grandchildren, because they take me to the beach and try to make words out of the veins in my legs. Little bastards. That's why I still take the pill. I don't want any more grandchildren. The best contraceptive for old people is nudity. Because, you know, contraception is in the news because of our former Surgeon General, C. Everett Koop. He was a fanatic about that, and smoking. He would go up to a total stranger on the street and give him a lecture. He says to this guy, just look at your fingers. They're all yellow. The guy says, I know, I'm a Chinaman. And they're selling them right out in the open, condoms right up there at the cash register. I always order 3 and say, fill them up. I prefer M&Ms. Fang went into a butcher shop, and he said, how much are crabs? And the butcher said, they're $20 a dozen. He said, shake hands with a millionaire. Thank God he couldn't come along and ruin this trip. He had a little accident. He was doing push-ups in the nude, and he didn't notice the mousetrap. Of course, you know, there's a lot of newlyweds on the ship, and there they are. Oh, God. Bless their little hearts. They know nothing about marriage. Happiest day of my life will be the day I open that refrigerator door and see his face on a milk carton. Of course, it's wonderful to be on a... Oh, there was a newlywed couple on their way to their cruise ship, and he forgot something, and he went into a drugstore and bought Dramamine and birth control things, and the dear old druggist took him aside. He said, son, if it makes you sick, why do you do it? And a fellow went into a drugstore, and he asked to speak with a male pharmacist, and the lady said, my sister and I have owned this store for 30 years. Don't be embarrassed. We're pros. You just tell us your problem, and we'll solve it. He said, well, it's an embarrassing problem. I have this almost continuous sexual arousal thing. She said, let me talk to my sister. They had a conference, and she came back, and she said, best we can do is $1,000 a week and half of the store. Because, you know, I am so thrilled with this fresh air on this ship. I mean, fresh air, because, you know, if you live in Los Angeles and you want a breath of fresh air, you have to find a car with an out-of-state license and open a tire. And, you know, of course, they always say to Californians that we don't have seasons. Of course, that is not true. We have fire, flood, mud, and drought. We had a 6-year drought. I got letters with stamps pinned on. And the ground dried up, and it was so dusty, a tree went up to a dog. And then when it rains out there, it isn't that much fun to be on the way to the airport and your house passes you. Last time we had one of those downpours, a flasher opened his raincoat and caught a trout. Fang actually believes that flashers open their raincoats to show off the lining. Of course, he's the dumbest man alive. He was stranded for 6 hours on an escalator when the power failed. He thinks Roe versus Wade is about two guys in a canoe. He was reading the obituaries the other night. He said, "Isn't it just amazing how people die in alphabetical order?" He read where 75% of all accidents happen within 25 miles of your own home. Now he wants to move. His father told him to ride bareback. He took off his pants. He spent $40 making obscene calls to a woman who's deaf. He set the house on fire, and the fireman gave him a lecture about smoking in bed. He said, "I didn't do it. The bed was burning when I got in." And one of the kids is studying violin, and it squeaks, and it makes the dog howl. Oh. Then he blames me. He says, "Can't you get the kid to play something the dog doesn't know?" One day, I said, "Look at the dead bird." He looked up. Somebody gave him a camera for his birthday. He just got back his first roll of film. 12 shots of his right eye. He lost $50 betting against an instant replay. And he won a trip around the world. What a prize. Refused to take it. He said, "How would I get home?" So instead, he accepted second prize, which was something I certainly didn't want. I didn't want it at all. Jesus. A stinking zebra. Named it Spot. Would you believe a guy 2 blocks down the street from us won a $50 million lottery, and he was ecstatic, rushed home, told his wife, "I won the lottery, start back." And she said, "Hot weather, cold weather?" He said, "Doesn't matter, I want you out of here in 10 minutes. Because, you know, to appreciate this kind of weather and this season of the year, you know, New Yorkers, I mean, a lot of them are just fed up with, there you are. And there was a New York couple, who had just had it because, you know, it's tough in New York. 2 guys said, "Let's share a cab." And one said, "I'll take the radio, you take the hubcaps." Cabs are so expensive, it's cheaper to get mugged and wait for the ambulance. So this couple decided to go out west, buy a ranch, and raise cattle, and they did that. And a year later, their dear friends came to visit, and they said, "What did you name the ranch?" And the father said, "Funny you should ask. We had a terrible time. I wanted to call it the Bar None. My wife wanted to call it the Lazy X. Daughter wanted to call it the Susie Q, and the son wanted to call it the Jumping Frog Ranch." Well, we couldn't decide. We couldn't resolve it. We never had such a family row. So the name of the ranch is the Bar None, Lazy X, Susie Q, Jumping Frog Ranch. And they said, "Well, where are the cattle?" He said, "Well, none of them survived the branding." But you know, it's fun to get away from some of my neighbors. I got some neighbors I can't. Well, one cute neighbor, a 99-year-old man. He's adorable, and he lives with his daughter. And one night they couldn't get the regular sitter, so they invited a new couple next door to sit with Gramps, and they did. And the next morning they asked the lady, "How was he?" She said, "No trouble at all. He's just a dear old man. No trouble. We watch television. Oh, excepting every now and then he would fall off to one side, but we just propped him back up." And they asked Gramps how he liked the new people next door. He said, "Well, they're all right, but they wouldn't let me fart." I should tell you that this is a wig. I've outlived my hair. Well, actually, I've outlived most of my body, except the parts I've had fixed. You know, I've had a lot of surgery. I've had so many things done to my body. When I die, God won't know me. There are no two parts of my body the same age. My left tit is older than the right. And I've had so many facelifts, if I have one more, it'll be cesarean. I had to do something. I was so wrinkled I could screw my hats on. One night I answered the door with a broom in my hand. A guy tried to sell me flight insurance. My face has been pulled up more times than Jimmy Swagger's pants. And I have a song about that. Why don't I sing my song about that? Doctors do fine things for people like me. Take a careful look at me and see if you agree. I've made the very best of what was once a tragedy. My list of reconstruction is as long as I am old. It cost a pretty penny, but I'm worth my weight in gold. It's true I had a nose job, capped my teeth and pulled some ribs. Had my cheekbones redefined and all but raised each lid. My breasts are firm, they ought to be, they used to be my knees. I'm nearly half bionic, but it looks so good on me. My friends all say I've gone too far for someone of my age. My agent fears I'll fall apart piece by piece on stage. But they don't know that I know I look better than they do. And if you think I look good now, just wait till I get through. Next week I tuck my tummy, buff my lips out, dye my hair, lift my face and have some liposuction here and there. Even Michael Jackson will turn green with jealousy. I'm nearly half bionic, but it looks so good on me. Yeah! Thank you. And at this point, I should tell you that Michael Jackson and I have the same plastic surgeon, so you know he's good. Made him a white girl. I might have come out a black boy. Michael is strange, you know. He's a piece of work, Jesus. And he said he never laid a glove on the kid. We're all trapped here together, you know. But you gotta admit, Michael's a little strange. I mean, he has that hair hanging straight down the middle of his face. You know, I'd go cross-eyed in 3 seconds. I would. However, my fortune teller is cross-eyed, and it saves me money because she can look into my past and future at the same time. She can go to a tennis match, never move her head. But what a joy to be here and get away from, well, like my mother-in-law, for one thing. Oh, God. That old bitch. While we're on the subject of old, and God, she is old, her Social Security number is 2. If you visit an old folks' home, don't ever set a drink down, because every time I did, somebody dropped their teeth in it. And Milton Berle visited an old folks' home and wasn't getting the respect he felt he should, and he has a massive ego. He went up to a little old lady and he says, "Do you know who I am?" She said, "No, but the lady at the desk will tell you." And I have a tip. Be kind to your children because they will be choosing your rest home. I've already chosen one for Fang's mother. Charles Manson Healthcare Center. She went to the doctor with a pain under her left breast. Turned out to be a trick knee. That reminds me, a lady went to a doctor, and she said to the doctor that one of her breasts was longer than the other. And he said, well, that's not unusual. Why is it? She said, well, I know why. My husband likes to sleep with one of my breasts in his mouth. And the doctor said, well, that's not unusual. She said, we have twin beds. Oh, but it's so great to be here and get away from the neighbors. We have one set of neighbors. Well, we've got newlyweds next door. I've put a hose on them twice. But and there's another couple that live very close who I think they have an argument every morning at breakfast. Because one morning as he left, he said, goodbye, mother of 5. And she said, goodbye, father of 3. But I love working this theater. It truly is a floating theater. There's a theater in Oakland I love to work. It's the old Palace, and they've had it refurbished, and it used to be a movie house. And it's exciting, and they alternate movies and live shows. They consider me semi-live. And they had trouble with a customer who was taking up 6 seats. They couldn't make him move. The usher couldn't get him to talk, so he called the manager down. The manager said, look, you've paid for 1 seat. You can't have 6 seats. We got a line of people waiting to see this A movie. And he wouldn't move. He wouldn't do a thing. So they called the cop. The cop went up and he said, where are you from? The guy says, the balcony. But I love being here because Fang couldn't come and ruin it all because, you see, and besides the food, you see, I can't cook. Oh, God, I can't cook. One night for dinner, I fixed something so bad, the cat covered it. And he wants everything to taste like Mother used to make it. That old bitch. Where the hell can I buy fresh buffalo meat? The only reason she wasn't on Noah's Ark, they couldn't find another animal that looked like her. God, she's ugly. Halloween, we don't buy a pumpkin. We put her in the window with a match in her mouth. Great big fat old bat. Someday I'd like to slit her girdle open and watch her spread to death. I don't like her. She hates me. One day I had a nosebleed. She put a tourniquet on my neck. I didn't give her anything at all last Christmas because she didn't use what I gave her the year before that. A cemetery lot. You see, if Fang weren't the cheapest man alive, we'd have no problem with this thing. He'd take me out to eat. Of course. But, oh, geez, the last time I said, let's eat out, we ate in the garage. You talk about cheap. He buys 1 Christmas card, sends it out as a chain letter. On December the 1st, he starts talking with a Jewish accent. Christmas Eve, he puts the kids to bed, fires 1 shot, and tells them Santa committed suicide. Thanksgiving, we didn't even have a turkey. We had a meatball with a feather in it. We had an anniversary. He gave me perfume. Evening in Des Moines. $1.98 a quart. I used it to dry clean the dog. Once he took us out for donuts and coffee. Now, the kids loved it because they had never given blood before. And all he would have to do is take us out, but the only place he ever takes me, get ready, this horrible Mexican joint called the Eat and Runs. They have kaopectate on tap. They know nothing about food. I asked for Russian dressing, brought me a picture of Gorbachev putting on his pants. One night I said I'd like a New York cut. A guy pulled a knife. I asked the guy, the waiter, one night, I said, what is the chef's surprise? He said, his wife left him and he doesn't know it. One night I wanted garlic toast. A guy came out and breathed on a loaf of Wonder Bread. I have had gas from that place so bad. I entered the doctor's office through the transom. He said, I'm going to give you something for gas. I said, could I have permission to land? And the food is so damn hot, if you're going to eat there, you better put the toilet paper in the freezer. One night I wanted fish. I said, what's the catch of the day? He said, hepatitis. But you see, here's the thing. I should never have married because the only thing domestic about me, I was born in this country. I don't like to keep house. And he's always threatening. He said, housework never killed anybody. I said, why take a chance? House is full of bugs. I couldn't care less. I wear flea collars around both ankles. There isn't a person in our family that's got the guts to eat raisin toast. My Roach Motel is booked through March. And I live next door to a woman who's perfect. She's the perfect homemaker. God, if there's anything at all to reincarnation, that bitch will come back as a Brillo pad. And Fang is no help. One day I asked him to fix the mixer. He can't do anything. He took it all apart. The parts are laying all over the floor, and this huge cockroach fell out. He said, there's your problem. The engineer died. And now he's become paranoid. Let me tell you how it happened. He went to a big mall, went up to the map, and the map said, you are here. He wants to know how they knew. He checked every map. He said, they knew where I was every minute. He's a coward. He's afraid of his own shadow. He says it isn't his. And he's afraid to fly. Oh, God, I can't get him past the bar at the terminal, you know. He doesn't like the word terminal either. And he says he's never read about two bars colliding in midair. Jesus. Once I tricked him. I got him on a plane, long trip to London, and we lost an engine. And the captain's voice comes on the speaker, and he says, don't worry about a thing. It just means we'll be 1 hour late landing at Heathrow. And then we lost another engine. Captain came on again. He said, this is a fine aircraft. Don't be apprehensive. It just means we'll be 2 hours late landing in London. We lost another engine, and Fang said, Jesus Christ, we lose one more. We'll be up here all night. So then we're in London, we're doing all that tourist stuff, that red double-decker bus. He went upstairs, and I stayed downstairs on it, and we rode around. When he got off, he was white, he was shaking. I said, now what the hell is wrong with you? He said, you had a driver. And you know, you say, well, why did you marry the dummy? Remember, I didn't have that many chances. I was so ugly. I hadn't been done over. My high school class voted me most likely to marry outside my species. I don't know how to tell you about ugly. I've got home movies of my folks leaving the hospital with sacks over their heads. When I was born, I was so ugly, the doctor slapped everybody. My father asked the doctor, is it a boy or a girl? He said, no. He said it was the first full-term miscarriage he'd ever witnessed. I was 30 years old. My mother was still trying to get an abortion. They had to tie a pork chop around my neck to make the dog play with me. When I was kidnapped, they wouldn't pay the ransom. They didn't want to break a 10. They used to take me to the orphanage and tell me to mingle. We were standing on a corner, my mother and I. A guy comes along and he says, does your monkey dance? She made me dance. And you know, when they play spin the bottle, if they don't want to kiss you, they have to give you a quarter. Well, hell. By the time I was 12 years old, I owned my own home. And I'll tell you what made it so miserable. I had this absolutely gorgeous sister, and she had one of those sexy walks that says, to whom it may concern. Well, I got news. It concerned everybody. She had a revolving door in her bedroom. They shot 3 episodes of Wild Kingdom in there. She spent more time on her back than Michelangelo. When she went to confession, she had to pack a lunch. One of her confessions got applause. She went to a church bingo party, won 2 priests. She's been in more motel rooms than the Gideon Bible. One morning, her car was dead. She sat on the engine. It started. Joan Collins called her a slut. She was the original meter maid. All you had to do was meet her. You got her made. Took a driving instructor 2 days to teach her how to sit up in a car. To this day, she thinks the steering wheel is a clothing rack. She broke her ankle in a glove compartment. The only time a boy ever asked me to get into the back seat was to fix the damn speaker. Of course, my trouble with cars is driving them. Hell, I had trouble getting my license. I got 2 tickets on my written test. And the last driving instructor I had, he left from my lesson, went straight to the hospital, and had his rosary surgically removed from his palm. And I'm not a good driver, I admit that. I had a freeway accident. I don't know how it happened. The woman blamed me, said she didn't see me. Oh, come on. How the hell can she miss me when I'm the only one entering through the exit? And besides, you have to notice the car. It's factory reject because of Fang. Oh, penny pincher. It's a 4-door, and all 4 doors are on one side. But I have a phone in the car. I hit a booth. Thank God for group insurance. One day I hit a group. But I have a driving tip for you. Don't ever hit the lead car in a funeral procession. I have never seen that many people in such a bad mood. And when that stiff rolled out, oh, hell, you'd have thought I killed him. And I didn't even create the problem. It was a cheap funeral, and they'd only dressed the top half of this man. His wife jumped out of the car. She said, "My God, that's all Fred needed, embalming. Look at that." And that's another thing. Fang is so dumb about sex. He thinks bisexual means you had sex twice. When we were kids and we used to play doctor, he was an optometrist. On our wedding night, he brought a book to bed. I wouldn't mind if he read. He colored. I put on a peekaboo blouse. He peeked and boo. Of course, I have to admit that I'm what you call underendowed. The last time I went for a physical, I had to coax the doctor back in off the ledge. And he said he couldn't give me a complete physical. And I said, why? He said, because you are not complete physically. I just never grew tits. They're in there somewhere. I don't know where they are. In fact, I don't know which way they're pointing. All I know is I tried. I did that exercise for years where you press your hands together to make your bust larger. My hands got bigger. It's so embarrassing. And I've worn foam rubber. Oh, God. If I fall, I leave skid marks. In fact, I decided one day that maybe the foam rubber is what messed me up. Maybe I erased them. It's embarrassing. I went into a lingerie department. I told the lady, I'd like to see something in a bra. She said, I bet you would. Then she insisted I try on this certain dress. She said, Madam, this dress is so sexy, it'll give your husband ideas. I said, why? Does a brain come with it? Because Fang will go any place where there's lots of booze. Boy, would he love to be here. There's lots of booze, you know, and he's, oh, you ought to see him in the morning with a hangover and the shakes. He can thread a sewing machine while it's running. And then the idiot tries to shave with a straight razor. One morning, he lost so much blood, his eyes cleared up. He's in terrible shape. He went to the doctor for a checkup, and the doctor found his liver in his mouth trying to get out. So the doctor told him he has sugar in his urine. He came home and wee-weed in his coffee. But his mother and I, the three of us, we went to this costume party. I went topless. My upper plate fell out. She stuck a pine cone in each ear and went as Canada. Somebody said, let's chew the fat, and the guy bit her. And Fang got loaded out of his mind, and he staggers over to me. He says, do lemons fly? I said, no, why? He said, well, then I just squeezed their canary in my drink. He does the most horrible things. One night he staggered out of a bar, threw up on a cat, and said, "I don't remember eating that." And I've done everything I know to make the man stop drinking. I have threatened him. One night I said, "If you don't give up this stupid drinking, I'm going to cut you off from all sex altogether." He said, "You don't even know where I'm getting it." You have been a delight, and I hope you're getting everything you want out of life. Good night. I love you.